Hi, welcome back to Miss Moon Cosplays. Today we're going to try something a little bit different. I feel like it's been long enough that I can safely discuss WandaVision without worrying about spoilers. So I'm going to do a Vision inspired makeup look and also discuss what I thought of that show while I do it. Hopefully this will be fun and a bit different. Just so you know where I was starting off with this show, I am a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and I have been pretty much since the start. I was super deep into the Marvel fandom between 2011 and 2015. That's when I was like actually doing like cosplay and fan art and things like that. When it comes to like the actual comics counterparts, although I have read some Marvel comics, I've not really read much that's specifically to do with them. I know of things like House of M, which this TV show kind of draws a bit from, but more in the abstract sense of like, I'm aware that that's a thing that existed and that happened in the comics, but I'm not too familiar with what actually happened during them. Most of my comics reading has more been along the lines of Spider-Man, Iron Man, some of the mainline comics stuff. X-Men were never really my bag, and neither was some of the like more team up stuff, so I haven't really read it. So I've seen all of the movies that Wanda and Vision have been in up to this point. Yeah, as far as the film versions go, the films that Wanda and Vision have been in, so that's Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War and Endgame. I disliked those films, but not because of them, more just because I didn't really like the plots. Both of them sort of faded into the background for me. When they all of a sudden in Infinity War were like, oh yeah, we've been like clandestinely meeting up and we've had this relationship going for ages, I was just like, oh, okay, I guess they're just doing it because of the comics, because I haven't seen anything on screen that read to me like it was building up to that. So I was just like, well, they're there, that's fine. I'm not that bothered. It wasn't like I was disinterested, I was just a bit kind of like, they don't seem that interesting to me. I've already put most of my interest on like the characters that I've already known for previous films. They've always had the problem of being always part of a group narrative to me. So it's nice that they got a chance to actually appear and be their own characters now, basically. The extended timeline of them having it be over a TV show rather than over a film has really helped. I think if they try to do this sort of a story over the course of a film, I don't think it would have worked very well. There wouldn't have been enough time to fully explain everything. I thought instead of re-summarising the show, I'm just going to go through each of the characters and what I thought from there. And we'll just kind of like discuss it that way, because although I'm doing spoilers, I don't want to ruin it if someone's been like, oh, I'm not sure, and then like what you see in this video makes you go like, oh, I actually do want to see this, and then I've ruined it for you. I don't want to do that. And equally, I don't just want like 70% of this video is just me retelling you the plot of WandaVision. Partly because the plot is a bit meandery that way, and I feel a bit like if I just told you plot beats, then the show won't seem as good, because the plot is not the main draw to this. I think it's the characters. So I guess we'll start with, despite the fact that she shares the title, we'll start with who it's really about, which is Wanda. The whole show is based around Wanda, really. Vision is there, but Wanda's the main focus. You know, Wanda's the reason we're all here. She's always seemed to be a character who's getting the typical Marvel girl problem. The same problem that Black Widow has, only worse because she's been in less movies. Well, I guess she exists. She seems cool from what I've seen, but I haven't seen much, and I definitely haven't seen enough for me to really form an involved opinion of her. Her character design looks neat. I don't understand what her powers are. That was where I was coming from at the start of this. I'm glad she gets expanded here, especially since I think that Age of Ultron and especially Civil War minimises a lot of her backstory with like, you know, war and Sokovia and whatnot. So I'm glad that it got fully expanded, and she's basically, if you look at her story through the whole MCU, she's just had a series of traumas happen to her, one after the other. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Steven Universe Future, a little bit, in that, and now let us have a look at the fallout of these things that we've put this character through. And I'm all for that, you know? I'm all for that sort of exploration. It's what fanfiction exists for, after all, and I like the fact that Marvel are putting that fully in the premise of their show and not just leaving it to the background for fans to assume that that's what happened. I don't think it was perfect. I think the show sort of ends up tripping up on itself a little bit when it falls down the, oh wait, oh have we made Wanda the villain of this, actually? Kinda. Yeah, you did. A little bit. And so they end up twisting themselves in knots with like all these mitigating factors so that it wasn't really her fault and all this. And how much of that are you doing just so you can still justify selling all of the Scarlet Witch Halloween costumes, which I'm looking forward to seeing all of those cosplays coming out. We're gonna get so many. Oh boy, we're gonna get so many. If cons was happening this year, I would be fully like, new Harley Quinn possibly, because there's lots of other options of costumes for you to do for her if you want, which are all possibly easier to make, a load of the sitcom outfits, but then you have the option of the one from the end if you really want to push yourself. But as I said, I have no issue with this. This is fine, it's par for the course. What am I going to complain about Disney wanting to put monetizable things in a Marvel thing? Please. I'm becoming in a bit late and be a bit hypocritical if I was going to complain about that. I kind of just feel a little bit like they didn't really fully explore a lot of the consequences to this. The people from that town are traumatized now. That's fun. And I look forward to all of the hot takes that people will be doing on how, you know, she's actually secretly the villain all along, which I'm sure happened in various corners of the internet. But yeah, I'm like looking forward to where they expand this into. I know that some of it is being left untouched because she's going to be in the new Doctor Strange movie. That's how it goes with these vertically integrated properties, right? So yeah, let's move on to the other half of that name, to Vision, who is my precious baby boy, and I love him. I was always going to be slightly more biased towards Vision just because anyone who knows me knows that I love robots and cyborgs and all of that. There's a reason why I cosplay like BB-8 and Spider Tanks and Baymax and all that. I just love robots so much, and robot characters, and a lot of the plot lines that get played out with robot characters are my jam, and I'm not going to apologise for that. This is how my mind be with these sorts of characters, and I really hope that the weird white version of him at the end means that he is going to come back, he didn't permanently die. Huzzah! I don't like superheroes for permanent consequences, you know, I live for these continuities where death is optional. Which I get is not everyone's bag, again, and I get may put me in the minority, but I don't care. This TV show is what first made me really buy his relationship with Wanda. I think that especially the sitcom-y parts with those two really do good on selling you as a couple, because like I say, I think the movies sort of fell short on that. I know I personally never bought them as a couple. It just seemed to be a thing that the movie was telling me was happening now. It is what it is. There are things I will fight and I will not fight this. There's more things in Endgame for me to worry about than the slight chance that I did not fully buy the robot man and the girl who I barely care about deciding that they were going to have a smooch. It certainly didn't piss me off to the extent that, say, Hulk and Natasha getting together in Age of Ultron did, where I really was like, this was not built up to, where the heck did this come from? But yeah, they're super sweet together, and I think that's one of the things where this being a TV show really helped, because it meant that we had all those sitcom episodes to really sell you on the idea that these two are a functional couple who love each other. Even though they did have the usual sitcom arguments, you still are like, oh, they love each other in the end. That's sweet. I think that ending, I think that him having to go would not have hit me so hard if the whole TV show had not spent so long selling me on this relationship. These two care about each other, they matter to each other. Your mileage may vary with that, I guess, but that really like sold me. Them and the kids, which I guess I may also get along with talking about. The kids managed to not be annoying, which was the main thing I was worried about. As soon as they brought up the Wanda is pregnant plot, I realised like, oh, I remember in the comics, doesn't she have kids with Vision who she thinks are real, and then they turn out to have been magic kids that were products of her imagination from just being that baby crazy or something. Can you tell that my reading of comics was not that close? So my main worry was kids in sitcoms are always annoying. Are they gonna make really annoying kids and just be like, haha, they're kids in a sitcom, they're supposed to be annoying? Thankfully, the worst they got was the episode that was sort of spoofing Malcolm in the Middle. I have very low patience with Malcolm in the Middle in general, but I think they did well. There's definitely way worse that kids can be. I do fall into the theory of I think they're not dead. They still exist in some capacity in her head or something. I know in the comics they're Speedball and Wiccan, because definitely Wiccan's like little outfit during Halloween was a nod to the Wiccan comic book costume. And I really love the Halloween nods to their costumes, by the way. That was so cute. I know that they're like in the new Avengers and stuff. Wiccan is gay, I think, and dating Hulkling. I feel like it was something along the lines of like, Wanda realised the kids weren't real, undid them, and that led to House of M, but something along those lines. And then later on the kids were like, their souls were reborn in other people's babies, and so they aren't twins anymore, but they do still exist, but they exist as just like X-Men now, who are kind of Wanda's kids, but not. I don't think that the MCU is going to do that because it's too convoluted. They've been pretty good at keeping stuff fairly simple in terms of that, but I do think they are going to exist in some way. I wouldn't be surprised if that Doctor Strange movie, like I mentioned earlier, she might be looking for them in a multiversal way. Because, like, at the end, when she was, like, in the hills, didn't we, like, hear them screaming? So I think that she's gonna be doing something to get her kids back. Because I guess getting Vision back is sort of solved with White Vision. I do like New Avengers, and I'm kind of hoping that they're gonna do some kind of New Avengers movie. So I'm hoping that the kids are gonna come back in order to, like, sort of lead into that. We'll see. We'll see. So I guess talking about the kids, that may as well lead me on to talking about the other family member that I guess the one that she's probably least likely going to be trying to get back, which is fake Pietro or Fietro, or the guy that played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, but was actually just like a random guy who also looked like him, I guess, being controlled by Agatha. It seems kind of weird and a waste. I'm also very suspicious if that's actually true. I feel like that's something that they could walk back very easily, is how it reads to me. Especially because as Pietro, he seemed to know stuff that Agatha wouldn't know, but Pietro would. I'm not sure if that's just like Agatha like resurrected Pietro's soul or something, because it definitely wasn't Quicksilver from the First Class movies, I don't think. I don't think Scarlet Witch is in the First Class movies. You might have to correct me. I've not properly watched them. It's been a while. It feeds into something that kind of annoys me with these sort of things, where there's stuff that you're like, that's just there because you're releasing it weekly, which I did watch it weekly, and you're there to make it so that everyone goes, oh my god, and speculates about it furiously for a week and garners you loads of traffic, and then we tune in the next week and it doesn't matter. It's something that Disney is lousy for doing with the Star Wars properties, and they're also lousy for doing it with the Marvel properties. I should have expected them to do it with this property, but it still bothers me when they do. Sorry, I can't talk while I'm doing the lips part. That's just sucky. There's nothing, I guess, wrong with him really. It just smacks so much of that we want you talking about, oh, is Pietro back? Is this how they're bringing X-Men and Avengers together? Is this how they're pulling the Fox stuff in now that we know the merger is happening? Is this, is this that? And then it's not any of these theories that we think about. It's just literally like, haha, it was actually some guy who looks the same the whole time, aka the boringest solution it could have been. Wow, egg on my face. It's just frustrating. And I guess that's also part of the problem I have with Agatha as well, is just that we all knew something was up with Agnes from the start. She's very bad at hiding it. And so everyone also immediately went like, oh, what's up with Agnes? What's up with Agnes? And those who are into their comics more than I do went, oh my gosh, I bet it's Agatha Harkness. And I was like, wait, who was Agatha Harkness again? I recognize that name, but I don't know from where. Oh yeah, she's one of the umpty million witches that the Marvel universe has hiding out in Eastern Europe somewhere. There's like a bunch of characters that are similar to her, so I got confused about which one she was. It's easily done. With Agatha, again, I think it blends into what I said about they don't want to make Wanda the villain, and they don't want to make it too ambiguous. They want to still give us someone to hate, and so that's sort of spread across Agnes and the Sword Man, who I cannot even remember his name. He was that boring. You know who I mean? The white guy, the generic white guy who was bad, and a sword man, and I think possibly Hydra and bad. For Agnes's part, it's mainly just, well, we need a big showdown at the end because this is a villain thing. We can't just have Wanda have a bit of a, oh my gosh, I have problems, I guess I'll go to therapy. That's not fun. That won't look good on a trailer or in a flashback. She's fun to watch, I'll give her that. She's more fun than Swordman. I remember who she is. Her villain song, I really love. I have had the remix of it going on my Spotify because it's fun and I like it. But I feel like in the end, she didn't really amount to much. She told Wanda, you're the Scarlet Witch, we have the rights to use that name for you now, and also here have the weird head thing that you had in the comics, we've figured out how to make it work. Well done for that, by the way, because that comics thing is really dumb. I've tried my best to make those sort of helms before with Sif, and they're really hard to make look not stupid. So props to the costume department for that, that's really cool. She was there, I guess, because, ooh, a big spell went off and I want to see what it is and eat up all that magic, nam 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 nam. And I guess in order to do that, I'll just fuck with her because I'm a... Once Wanda figured out what was going on, she just went, well, how about no? The rune thing was cool. I thought that was very cool with it being pulled back on her, but like, I guess it was nice to see the actual relationship that she had with Vision and not the fake Vision that she made up. But I already bought that like the fake Vision was close enough that I guess they must have been like this off screen. Like I say, she mainly just exists so that Wanda has someone to hit and be the clear hero against. At least she's fun compared to Swordman, who is boring, and I could look up his name. I could look it up and actually look like I know what I'm talking about, but I won't because I don't remember him and he's boring. And that's my whole point. I should hate him more because he did the worst stuff in the whole series. He was the one who was ripping Vision's body apart and tricking Monica into doing stuff and making Wanda look bad and blaming everything on her when it wasn't her, which, you know, I guess is why I should feel like, oh, she wasn't really the villain because he was manipulating stuff to make it look like she'd done stuff she hadn't, and just go die in a hole with the guy from Winter Soldier and the guy from Civil War. I only remember Zemo, that's his name. I only remember Zemo from Civil War because I've been watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, I'm not going to complain too much about the overall thing about, oh, what if the real guy was this like boring white man who looks really normal and like in your office, and it's like, I guess, but they're boring. I get why. And like, I guess you do need villains like that, a good smattering of them, but it's still just like, I'm bored though. Can they at least have names that are funny, that I remember? I only partly remember Zemo because I remember that in the comics he was an idiot who got his mask glued to his face. If in Falcon and the Winter Soldier he falls in a bucket of glue and gets that stupid mask of his glued to his face, I will be so happy and I will completely reverse my opinion on that series. I do feel like I was a bit disappointed with how quickly they did give up on the sitcom gimmick and started focusing more on the story with him, just because I was enjoying the sitcom. And the more the superhero stuff came in, the more I was like, oh, I remember why I stopped watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's because it was really boring. Don't get me wrong, Darcy, yay. So happy Darcy came back. So glad she's being in stuff that isn't Thor. I missed her in Thor 3. I really like Kat Dennings. I think that she is a gift to the Marvel Universe. I have issues occasionally with the way that fandom portrays Darcy, but that's not her fault. And I thought that, unlike Agatha, her way of doing the exposition of this is what's happening, this is how she's doing stuff, worked really well. Some of the stuff I was a bit like, I don't need this explained, but other people in the scene need it explained, and I guess she does well at making it seem like, well, duh, you and I know that this is a thing, but I'm having to explain it to these dumbos, which is something that I appreciate. It was kind of, I guess, a bit similar to the humour in the MCU Spider movies, which I really like the humour in those movies. I guess your mileage may vary with Darcy, but I really love her. And Jimmy Woo, I haven't actually seen. I think he's from the Ant-Man movies, which I haven't seen. I know I need to. I've been putting it off because I really like Janet Van Dyne from the comics and she's not in it. I know why, but it's still just like, It saddens me. I will watch it eventually, but it stings a bit right now. But yeah, I like Jimmy Woo. He seemed nice. He seems like someone who's got his head screwed on, which is rare in these super extra military control-y places that the MCU is full of. And I like the sort of Scooby gang that Jimmy and Darcy and Monica formed for a few episodes. I thought that was really cool. I don't know if you can see actually, I'm a bit low in the frame, but I did like Captain Marvel. I will admit, I haven't rewatched Captain Marvel. I watched it in the cinema and I really liked it, and I haven't watched it since. And I really liked, oh lordy, I've completely forgotten Monica's mother's name, but I really liked her relationship with Carol, and Monica was such a cute kid and I was so excited to see her grown up. I'm really curious to find out what happened with her and Carol, because she seemed very not happy when Carol got brought up, so I'm guessing some kind of backstory bad happened there. I'm not too familiar with her in the comics, but I am guessing that she's going to turn up in the next Captain Marvel movie. Really looking forward to that. Her powers look dope. I really liked the way that she was supporting Wanda in this. She really quickly grasped and reminded everyone of, you realise that Wanda's like been through the trauma of, she had two people who cared about her in her life and both of them are dead, and everyone hates her because of blowing up people, which is fair. That was a whoopsie that she did, but it was an accident. But yeah, I like the fact that she had that relationship with Wanda, that she believed in Wanda. I think it was a good way to keep Wanda from being so much like, oh, this TV show is just trying to excuse everything that Wanda did, and that people are having that argument with Monica rather than Wanda. Just because, like, obviously Wanda has the gotcha card of, well, I'm the Scarlet Witch and I'm too powerful for you to properly take me on. Monica's like obviously definitely going to turn up in more things, and I'm looking forward to that. If nothing else, this TV show has definitely got me looking more forward to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or whatever it is it's called. I'm not a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch in general. Everything I saw leading up to the Doctor Strange movie, I was like, that looks like it's going to be a bad movie. And then I ended up watching it on streaming. I was correct. I would have been disappointed if I watched this in the cinema. And so my expectations for the new Doctor Strange were a bit like, I might skip it. I might catch it on like Disney Plus or whatever in a few months' time after it comes out. But this means that I might actually properly watch it now, just because I'm like, I like Wanda. I'm curious how they're gonna solve her issues, and I'm curious how some of this stuff is gonna play in. And also I got more of my baby boy Vision, which I'm always happy about, and a little smattering of hope of maybe he's not dead. Maybe he's just in a weird white body now. I think it was a good way to explore what needed to be explored with Wanda and Vision, and also it set up a lot of interesting things for the future, I think. I'm just really hoping that we don't have the problem of like Sherlock, of believers, we're gonna pay this off eventually, we're gonna pay it off eventually, you know, the Star Wars problem, and then they just don't. I'm really hoping that they do succeed in sticking the landing. They've got a pretty good track record for that compared to the other two examples, but you know, it's still Disney. Thanks so much for watching me ramble about WandaVision for a bit, guys. I don't really have a final thesis for this. If you want to see me ramble about more things, then feel free to leave a comment below or get in contact with me on my social medias. And I also stream on Twitch every Wednesday on Critten Castle. I'll leave the VOD channel to that in the end card. If you want to hear me ramble in real time, feel free to leave me a comment if you want to see me discuss stuff, or if you like this style of video at all basically and want to see me ramble about more stuff while I do makeup looks based on it. And I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!